Go to the end screen for the prequel. Hey Groot, think you're committing the crime of the century? I'm committing the crime of eternity. Nice, Roland Emmerich. You see dollar signs upon watching a video from a small channel but never ask for the rights. Fly me to the moon and let me sleep with no remorse. This movie sucks. Petrie and Buford never had a cameo. Am I to understand that I just mooned the entire planet?
Oh, great. Now I'm the bad guy.
At least I'm getting my telescope spaceship back. Years from now, they're going to ask, where were you when the moon collided with Earth? If anyone asks, I was at the Pacific Science Center.
And then you see the moon hurtling towards Earth. For it to be hurtling like that, something must have knocked it off course. Something very powerful had to have knocked the moon, so now it's spinning pell-mell. Remember, the moon is also tidally locked to the Earth, so for it to completely, not just not be tidally locked anymore, but to be hurtling, spinning top end over top end like a flying soccer ball towards the Earth, somebody kicked that shit. Somebody was like, yeet, right towards Earth. And it might have been deliberate.
Oh no, Altiori is onto me. I swear I didn't know my own strength. Moonfall is directed by Roland Emmerich and stars Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson as two astronauts who are on a mission to investigate the moon after they discover that a mysterious force has knocked it out of orbit, sending it on a collision course with Earth. And it all leads to some shocking and earth-shattering discoveries about the universe. Now, when I read the title for the movie, my thought was, oh goodness, is it literally about exactly what the title says? And so it was. And I was just in stitches, not just because I couldn't get the image out of my head of me being the culprit, but because after Roland Emmerich has come up with every conceivable way of destroying the Earth, it's like he's now just given up and is like, screw it, let's just have the moon fall on us. It was destined to be his most insane disaster film yet, and I can confirm that it is. Just not in the good way. Now, I'm not an Emmerich hater. I enjoy Independence Day. Day After Tomorrow in 2012, kind of fun, despite the eye-rolling sense of humor that continuously plagued 2012. The problem with Emmerich is that whenever he makes a disaster flick, the idea of giving us a different human story is somehow lost on him. And he's capable of doing it, but he only does so when it's something other than a disaster flick, like The Patriot, which is good, and even White House Down, which wasn't really good, but the chemistry with Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx saved it for me. Because of that, I actually prefer it over Olympus Has Fallen. But with Moonfall, when it comes to characters in the human story, it's exactly the same shtick as every one of Emmerich's prior disaster films. The main character's story involves a marriage or relationship that is on the rocks, and in this case, we actually get two versions of that cliche for the price of one. And of course, there's the nerdy or nutty conspiracy theorist that no one takes seriously, but wouldn't you know it, it turns out he's not nearly as crazy as he sounds. And while Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson are both fine in the lead roles, John Bradley is the conspiracy theorist who, unfortunately, gets a lot of screen time. He gets irritating very fast. And Donald Sutherland is in this movie. I don't know why. He shows up once just to tell Halle Berry about some secrets regarding Apollo 11. You think he's going to be an important character, perhaps one that has a mysterious background, because they do that thing where they film him in the shadows when he starts talking, and as he continues, he slowly moves into the light. But his only appearance is just this one scene of exposition. So what was the point of shooting his introduction that way? The script is really lazy. It's filled with cliched lines that sometimes don't even really work with the scenario. For example, a scene where a group of people are trying to reach a protective bunker, Charlie Plummer's character gets dragged airborne by the moon's gravity. A woman finds him trapped underneath a log, and he says, "Oh, you came back." Wait, you came back? Really poor choice of words, don't you think? Yes, you came back to this one random spot that we maybe, possibly, but I don't know for certain, could have run across a few minutes ago. You came for me. Easy fix. Another weird line comes when the conspiracy nut arrives at his job, and a nameless coworker tells him, and I quote, "You're 7.5 minutes late." Who is that exact when informing someone how late they are? Okay, to be fair, that is something that I might say, so I guess it was meant to be some really forced autistic representation? I don't know. Frankly, the most natural dialogue in this movie is a conversation early on where the lead characters discuss the lyrics of Toto's Africa. There's also a hefty number of attempts at humor that don't land, including a joke that directly copies a Jeff Goldblum line from The Lost World. Sarah Harding! How many Sarahs do you think are on this island? They completely rip that off here. Now, as way out there as the premise of this movie is, it does present some visuals that are striking and even at times unnerving, like massive waves being drawn up by the moon's gravity, or a plane swaying to the side as it takes off, or even just the image of the moon appearing bigger in the sky than Bruce Almighty's. And though I don't think the moon would create as strong of a resistance to the Earth's gravity as what is depicted in the third act, there are still some cool moments when people on Earth take advantage of the lunar gravity to get themselves out of life-threatening situations. But whatever enjoyment you might get on the ground is soured by the nonsense that goes on above, which involves the lead trio in space facing off against this weird nanotechnological being. Strange thing is, when it's on Earth, the movie tries to go for a realistic approach within the bonkers premise. Say the moon was on the verge of colliding with Earth, I'm sure there would be chaos, looting, and riots breaking out everywhere. But that aspect of the movie is completely at odds with the absurdity of the lead trio's discovery of what the moon actually is and where this nanotechnological force came from. My perception is that Roland Emmerich started with the basic idea of the moon falls out of the sky. Okay, that's crazy, but I'll accept it if it makes for a fun movie. And so he proceeded to think, why would the moon be knocked off course? Well, you could probably say that it was some astronomical phenomenon, like an abnormally strong solar wind or something. Granted, I don't know if there's even the faintest chance that could happen. Probably not, I'm not a scientific expert. But given movies like The Day After Tomorrow in 2012, I don't think Roland Emmerich is ashamed to say that he's not either. But instead he goes with an artificially intelligent being that flies around in little cubes like the prototypes from Transformers 4. Yes, brilliant. And therefore, he's then faced with the question of, what is the origin of this thing, and why would it go inside of the moon and thus knock it off course? So he had to go into thinking up this very far-fetched, very convoluted mythos that tells of what the moon really is and what's been going on in the universe for billions of years. In short, this movie feels like it was created by a gigantic domino effect of ridiculous ideas that eventually spiral out of control worse than the moon does. If it was kept to just the basic idea of the moon on a collision course with Earth and the world having to find a way to deal with that, it could have been fun dumb, but with all the unnecessary sci-fi mumbo-jumbo that is used to justify it, it results in being just plain dumb. This, plus the tired characters and terrible dialogue, aren't balanced out by the admittedly very impressive special effects. At the end of the day, this is probably the worst disaster movie since Geostorm. Scoring on the Factor Facts, I'm going to give Moonfall a 39%. But hey, at least I got the top-rated comment on the trailer. That's a wrap, thank you for watching, I hope you found this review helpful. Like and share, subscribe for more. This is Pop Culture, I'm Alex Pop.